Anna gently pulled back the curtains, letting the morning sunlight flood her cozy suburban home. The garden outside was alive with blooming roses, while Max, her loyal golden retriever, frolicked happily among the flower beds. Max was her constant source of joy, an inseparable companion for years. From the time he was just a tiny puppy, Max had been by Anna's side, witnessing every moment of her life, from serene mornings over coffee to the times when she felt overwhelmed by life's pressures. Max was always there, offering unconditional love and unwavering loyalty. Anna lived in a charming little house in the suburbs with her husband, Daniel. To their neighbors, they seemed like the ideal couple. Daniel, a successful businessman with a polished demeanor, often appeared in immaculate suits, his sharp blue eyes and warm smile captivating everyone around him. Anna, with her gentle nature, greeted everyone with kindness and warmth. They were the embodiment of a happy family, complete with a lovely home, an adorable dog, and a life that seemed too good to be true. But beneath the surface of this perfect picture lay secrets that Anna could never have imagined. She was living in a carefully crafted illusion, unaware of the dark intentions lurking in the shadows. Daniel was not the husband everyone believed him to be. Despite his charming and dependable exterior, he harbored a cold and calculating soul, driven by an insatiable hunger for power, wealth, and control. Daniel saw everything around him as tools to further his ambitions, including Anna. At first, their marriage seemed like a fairy tale romance. Daniel had been drawn to Anna's kindness and purity, but over time, he began to view her as an obstacle. Anna's indifference to money and status clashed with Daniel's relentless pursuit of success, and her encouragement to prioritize family and simplicity only deepened his resentment. To Daniel, Anna's values were a hindrance to his grander plans. When Daniel discovered that Anna was the sole beneficiary of a substantial insurance policy, a sinister idea began to form in his mind. With that money, he could escape what he saw as the constraints of their life and start anew, chasing his ambitions without interference. But to do so, Anna had to disappear. Daniel started to meticulously plan his scheme, taking careful steps to ensure its success. Outwardly, he maintained the image of a devoted husband. Every morning, he kissed Anna on the forehead before heading to work, wishing her a good day. He played with Max as though nothing had changed. But behind his smiles was a mind calculating every move in a deadly game. To manipulate Anna, Daniel subtly began steering her toward more adventurous activities, such as hiking or kayaking, things she had never shown interest in before. "We need a little excitement in our lives, darling," he would say, his voice brimming with enthusiasm. Trusting her husband, Anna agreed, believing it was an attempt to strengthen their bond. Max, however, seemed to sense something was wrong. Whenever Daniel approached Anna, Max would position himself protectively between them, his watchful eyes filled with unease. This behavior irritated Daniel, and on one occasion, when Anna wasn't looking, he kicked Max aside in frustration. But Max remained undeterred, ever vigilant in his silent mission to protect Anna. Unaware of the danger she was in, Anna continued to live in the illusion of their perfect life, not realizing she was being led into a trap. Daniel began researching remote locations under the guise of planning romantic getaways. But in reality, these were places he had identified as ideal for carrying out his plan. Despite his dark intentions, Daniel maintained his role as the perfect husband in the eyes of the community. He hosted small gatherings, invited neighbors over, and frequently spoke of how lucky he was to have Anna as his wife. Yet, whenever he said those words, his eyes lacked warmth. They held the cold, calculating gaze of a predator waiting to strike. Anna loved and trusted Daniel, which made her vulnerable to his manipulation. But she was not entirely alone. Max, though unable to speak, seemed to sense the growing danger. The loyal dog stayed by her side, a silent guardian against the threat she couldn't see. As the days passed, Daniel's plan neared completion. He waited for the perfect moment, the right opportunity to set his sinister scheme into motion. But in their world, things were rarely as simple as they seemed. The darkness that concealed Daniel's intentions could just as easily be pierced by the light, and cracks in his carefully constructed plan were beginning to form. Daniel had spent weeks perfecting his plan, ensuring every detail was meticulously calculated. He knew Anna's death had to appear completely accidental, an untraceable accident. That was the only way he could avoid suspicion. After careful consideration, Daniel decided to use a poison that would induce a heart attack without leaving any trace in the body. He had researched the substance thoroughly, knowing it would dissolve completely in liquid without altering the taste or smell. His plan was simple: lace Anna's nightly cup of tea with the poison. That evening, after dinner, Anna went upstairs to prepare for bed. Daniel watched her silhouette disappear up the staircase, his eyes cold and calculating. Once she was out of sight, he quietly entered the kitchen, opened a hidden compartment in the cabinet, and retrieved a small vial of poison. His hands didn't tremble as he unscrewed the cap and carefully measured out the exact amount needed. He poured the powder into Anna's favorite teacup, knowing the dose was enough to trigger a fatal heart attack without raising any suspicion during a medical examination. He stirred the tea, placed it neatly on the counter, and walked out of the kitchen as though nothing had happened. Max, the loyal golden retriever, lay in the corner of the living room, his eyes half closed. But as Daniel emerged from the kitchen, Max's ears perked up, and his gaze sharpened, following every movement Daniel made. Max was no ordinary dog. He had been with Anna since he was a puppy, and over the years, he had developed an uncanny instinct for sensing danger. Tonight, Max knew something wasn't right. There was something in Daniel's demeanor, in the way he moved, that set off alarm bells in the dog's mind. Anna came down the stairs, looking relaxed, holding a book she planned to read before bed. She smiled when she saw the tea waiting for her. "You're so thoughtful," she said, her voice warm. "You always remember my tea before bed." Daniel offered a small smile, his heart racing with anticipation. "I just want you to have a good night's sleep," he replied, his voice calm but laced with chilling intent. Anna reached for the cup, lifting it to her lips, but just as she was about to take a sip, Max suddenly sprang to his feet. The dog let out a loud, sharp bark, startling Anna. Before she could react, Max lunged toward her, jumping up and pawing at her arm, knocking the teacup from her hand. The cup fell to the floor, shattering into pieces, and the tea spilled across the tiles. "Max, what's gotten into you?" Anna exclaimed, crouching down to clean up the mess. Max continued to bark, his eyes fixed intently on Daniel, his body tense and alert. Anna, puzzled by her dog's unusual behavior, shook her head and gently patted Max's head. "It's okay, Max. It's just tea. There's nothing to worry about." But Max didn't calm down. He stayed between Anna and Daniel, his watchful eyes never leaving Daniel's face. The dog's low growl sent a clear message. He knew something was wrong. "Max is just being a bit overexcited," Daniel said, his voice strained as he tried to hide his frustration. He bent down as if to help Anna clean up the spilled tea, but inside, he was seething. His meticulously crafted plan had been ruined in an instant by a dog. Anna didn't dwell on Max's behavior for too long. She dismissed it as a momentary outburst and scratched behind Max's ears. "It's okay, Max. You're such a silly boy," she said with a laugh. But Max remained tense, his body positioned protectively in front of Anna as he continued to glare at Daniel. Daniel forced a smile, but internally, he was already rethinking his approach. Max wasn't just a dog, he was an obstacle, one that had interfered with his carefully laid plans. Daniel realized he wouldn't only need to eliminate Anna, he would have to deal with Max as well. But he couldn't afford to act rashly. Tonight's failure had taught him that even the smallest misstep could unravel everything. Max, however, wasn't about to back down. Though he couldn't speak, he had sensed the danger and acted to protect Anna. As he stood watch over her that night, Max knew the threat hadn't passed. The enemy was still close, and Max resolved to do whatever it took to keep Anna safe. Daniel didn't give up after his first failed attempt. Max's vigilant presence was becoming a significant obstacle, but it only fueled Daniel's resolve to carry out his plan. If the poison didn't work, he would try something else, something more catastrophic. This time, Daniel devised a plan to tamper with the kitchen's gas system, causing a leak that would build up overnight. He intended for the gas to ignite in the morning when Anna turned on the stove to make breakfast. A sudden explosion would appear to be nothing more than a tragic accident. That evening, after dinner, Daniel waited patiently for Anna to go to bed. Once she was sound asleep, he slipped out of the bedroom and headed to the kitchen. Using the tools he had carefully hidden, he adjusted the gas line to create a slow leak, ensuring that the gas would gradually fill the house without being immediately noticeable. After double-checking his work, Daniel quietly returned to bed, a smirk of satisfaction on his face. In his mind, the plan was foolproof. By morning, everything would fall into place. Max, who had been lying in the corner of the living room, immediately sensed something was wrong. As soon as Daniel emerged from the kitchen, Max lifted his head, his sharp nose picking up a faint scent in the air. The smell was unfamiliar but alarming, triggering Max's instinct to protect Anna. The loyal dog began pacing around the house, sniffing and searching for the source of the danger. Though he couldn't understand exactly what was happening, Max knew his owner was in peril. Back in the bedroom, Daniel slipped under the covers beside Anna. Feigning sleep, his mind was racing with anticipation. By morning, when Anna entered the kitchen to prepare breakfast, the gas would ignite, causing a deadly explosion. All he had to do was wait. He closed his eyes, wearing the mask of a devoted husband resting peacefully beside his wife. But Max didn't rest. As the gas leak intensified, the scent became stronger, and Max's unease grew. Unable to stay still, the dog began barking loudly, the sharp sound echoing through the quiet house. Anna stirred in her sleep, groggily opening her eyes. "Max, what's wrong?" she murmured, still half asleep. But Max didn't stop. He jumped onto the bed, tugging at her nightgown with his teeth, trying desperately to pull her out of bed. Fully awake now, Anna sat up, startled by Max's unusual behavior. "What's going on, Max?" she asked, concern creeping into her voice. But as she sat there, she caught a faint whiff of something unusual. Her nose wrinkled as she realized it was gas. Alarmed, Anna leapt out of bed, her heart pounding as she rushed downstairs to the kitchen. Max stayed close by her side, his every movement radiating urgency. When Anna entered the kitchen, the smell of gas was overwhelming. Her breath caught in her throat as she realized the danger. Without hesitation, she turned off the main gas supply and flung open the windows, letting the fresh night air flood in and dissipate the toxic fumes. Max stood beside her, growling softly, his sharp eyes scanning the dark hallway leading back to the bedroom. As the immediate danger passed, Anna leaned against the counter, her hands trembling. Her mind raced, trying to process what had just happened. But as she returned upstairs to check on Daniel, a sense of unease crept over her. Something didn't feel right. Daniel was still lying in bed, his body perfectly still, as though he hadn't heard a thing. Yet Anna noticed the faint irregularity in his breathing, a sign that he was only pretending to sleep. "Daniel?" she called softly, her voice shaking slightly. He didn't respond at first, then stirred, feigning grogginess. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice thick with mock drowsiness. "There was a gas leak," Anna replied, her words rushing out. "I smelled it and turned it off. I opened the windows. Didn't you notice anything?" Daniel sat up, trying to appear calm. "I must have been sleeping too deeply," he said, his tone deliberately casual. "Thank goodness you caught it." But Max didn't buy the act. The dog stayed close to Anna, his body tense and his growl low and menacing as he stared at Daniel. His sharp eyes never left the man's face. a clear warning that he wasn't fooled. Anna looked at Max, then at Daniel. Though she didn't voice her thoughts, doubts began to form in her mind. Why hadn't Daniel smelled the gas? Why did he seem so unaffected when she had been terrified? And why was Max acting so protective? Almost as though he sensed something she couldn't? Max, calm down, Anna said softly, trying to soothe the dog. But she couldn't shake the feeling that something was deeply wrong. Max didn't relax. He stood guard by Anna's side, his eyes fixed on Daniel, his growl a constant reminder of his mistrust. That night, Anna couldn't go back to sleep. She lay awake, her mind replaying the events over and over. She listened to every creak of the house, every faint sound, her eyes fixed on the ceiling. Max lay beside her, his breathing steady but his head occasionally lifting to check the room. Anna knew Max had saved her life once again, and that realization only deepened the sense of unease gnawing at her. Meanwhile, Daniel lay beside her, motionless but far from asleep. His mind raced as he struggled to come to terms with his second failure. The plan had been perfect, but Max had ruined everything yet again. Now, Daniel understood that he wasn't just facing Anna. He was up against her loyal protector as well. He would need to devise a new plan, one that left no room for error. This time, he would make sure there were no more second chances. After the terrifying events that Max had warned her about, Anna couldn't shake the growing doubts in her mind. Despite Daniel's continued facade of a caring husband, she couldn't ignore the strange behavior, his unnatural indifference to dangerous situations, the cold glint in his eyes when he thought she wasn't looking, and Max's constant tension whenever Daniel was near. Max had saved her twice, and Anna trusted her loyal companion's instincts. Determined to uncover the truth, she decided to take action, installing hidden cameras throughout the house without telling Daniel. Anna carefully chose the placement of the cameras, ensuring they covered key areas of the house, especially the kitchen where the gas leak had occurred and the living room where Daniel often spent time alone. She discreetly set up the system while Daniel was at work and began monitoring the footage daily on her phone. At first, everything seemed normal. Daniel maintained his image as a devoted husband. But just a week later, Anna's worst fears were confirmed. One evening, while reviewing the footage, she froze in horror as she watched Daniel sneak into the kitchen late at night. He carefully inspected the gas lines and deliberately loosened another valve. In another video, Daniel was seen sprinkling an unknown powder into a bowl of soup she had left in the fridge. His movements were methodical, his face expressionless, devoid of any guilt or hesitation. Anna sat motionless, staring at the screen, her world shattering around her. She couldn't believe that the man she had trusted and loved, the man she had shared her life with, was plotting to kill her. All the happy memories she had cherished now felt like a cruel illusion masking a heart filled with cold ambition. She held Max close, tears streaming down her face. But even in her grief, she knew she couldn't let this continue. Daniel was not just dangerous. He was willing to do whatever it took to achieve his sinister goals. Without hesitation, Anna called the police. She recounted the events of the past weeks, from Max saving her from the poison tea to the gas leak incident. Most importantly, she provided the damning video evidence of Daniel's actions. It was irrefutable proof. The police launched an immediate investigation. A forensic team was sent to Anna's house to inspect the gas system and analyze the food in the fridge. The experts confirmed that the gas line had been deliberately tampered with and that the soup contained a lethal poison. These findings, combined with the surveillance footage, created an airtight case against Daniel. Daniel was arrested at their home. When the police arrived, he tried to maintain his calm demeanor, denying all accusations. "I don't know what she's talking about," he said smoothly. "Anna must be mistaken. I love her and would never hurt her." But the video evidence told a different story. Watching himself tamper with the gas line and poison the food, Daniel's confident facade began to crumble. The footage left no room for doubt, and the police confronted him with the forensic findings as well. Even then, Daniel tried to deny everything. "That's not me," he shouted. But his protests were futile. At the trial, Anna bravely stood before the court and recounted her story. She detailed how Max had saved her twice and the horror of discovering Daniel's plans through the hidden cameras. Prosecutors presented the evidence methodically, from the videos to the forensic expert's testimony. The courtroom was silent as the footage of Daniel carrying out his plot was played for everyone to see. The jury didn't take long to reach a verdict. Daniel was found guilty of attempted murder and conspiracy to commit murder. He was sentenced to the maximum prison term for his heinous actions. As the judge delivered the sentence, Daniel showed no remorse. He glared at Anna with seething anger. But Anna no longer felt fear. She knew justice had been served, and she could finally begin to rebuild her life. After the trial, Anna returned home with Max, the loyal dog who had saved her life not once but twice. She knelt beside him, stroking his soft fur. "You saved me, Max," she whispered, her voice filled with gratitude. Max wagged his tail, his eyes radiating unconditional love and loyalty. Life would never be the same for Anna, but she learned to cherish her newfound freedom and the simple joys of life. She knew it would take time to heal the emotional scars, but she also knew she was lucky to be alive to tell her story. Max, her tireless companion, remained by her side, a constant reminder that even in the darkest moments, love and loyalty could triumph over any danger. After everything that had happened, Anna sat on her porch, gently stroking Max's soft fur. Her eyes filled with gratitude and love as she looked at the dog who had saved her life. Max was more than just a loyal companion. He was a hero who had protected her from the deadly schemes of the man she once trusted. Without Max, Anna knew she wouldn't be alive to feel the warm sunlight or enjoy the peaceful breeze of the morning. Max's story spread throughout the neighborhood, and everyone admired the dog's intelligence and unwavering loyalty. Neighbors often visited Anna to hear her recount the tale, and they were moved by how Max had risked everything to protect her. Children in the neighborhood started calling Max the hero dog, and whenever they saw him, they would run over to give him hugs. Max, with his gentle and friendly nature, returned their affection with loving eyes and a wagging tail. Although Anna received overwhelming support from her neighbors and friends, she knew she couldn't stay in the house filled with painful memories. Every corner of the home reminded her of Daniel's betrayal, the dark plots he had devised, and the times she had come close to death. She decided it was time to leave the past behind and start anew. She needed a place where she and Max could live peacefully, away from the shadows of her former life. After some searching, Anna found a small farm on the outskirts of town. The property was beautiful, with rolling green fields, tall trees, and a cozy little house. The farm had a large yard where Max could roam freely and a garden for Anna to plant flowers and vegetables. To Anna, the farm wasn't just a new beginning. It was a gift from Max, her loyal friend who had stood by her side through it all. On the day they moved in, Max ran around excitedly, sniffing every corner of the new house and exploring the wide-open fields. Anna couldn't help but laugh as she watched him frolic in the sunlight, his golden tail wagging furiously as if he were saying, "This place is amazing. Thank you for bringing me here." In the days that followed, Anna settled into her new life. She planted rows of flowers along the pathway, tended to her garden, and took long morning walks with Max by her side. Life on the farm was peaceful, but the lessons she had learned from her past never left her. She knew she had been given a second chance, and she reminded herself to cherish every moment. As always, Max remained her constant companion. Every evening, he lay by her feet as she read, his eyes half closed but his ears always alert. Even though the danger had passed, Max never stopped being her silent protector. To Anna, Max wasn't just a dog, he was family, the one she could trust with her whole heart. As for Daniel, he paid the price for his crimes, with overwhelming evidence against him. He was sentenced to the maximum prison term for attempted murder and conspiracy. But for Anna, the sentence wasn't the important part. What mattered was that she had escaped him, survived his deadly plans, and now had the opportunity to rebuild her life. Anna and Max's story became an inspiration to many. Articles were written about Max, celebrating him as a symbol of loyalty and unconditional love. Animal lovers in the community came together to send Anna and Max small gifts, tokens of gratitude for sharing such a powerful and meaningful story. For Anna, Max hadn't just saved her life. He had shown her the true value of loyalty, love, and trust. One evening, as the sun set behind the trees, Anna sat on her porch with a warm cup of tea in her hands. Max lay at her feet, his golden fur glowing in the soft light. She gently stroked his head and whispered, "Without you, I wouldn't be here. Your bark didn't just save my life. It saved my soul." Max let out a soft whimper, as if he understood every word. His tail wagged slightly, and his eyes looked up at her with endless love. For Max, protecting Anna wasn't a duty. It was something he did with all his heart, because his love for her was unconditional. Max's bark, once just a familiar sound of a loyal dog, now held a profound meaning for Anna. It wasn't just a warning. It was a voice of loyalty, love, and a bond that transcended words. Anna knew that no matter where life took her, Max would always be by her side, ready to protect her no matter the cost. Their story ended with the image of a woman and her loyal dog, living peacefully on a small farm where love and loyalty had triumphed over betrayal and danger. And in that tranquility, Max's bark still echoed, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, genuine love has the power to save.